Too young to consent. A sex educator's message on underage sex. The questions no one talks about. As a professional sex educator, one of the most difficult, yet most important conversations I have is about underage sex. Not because it's rare, but because it's real, and most people are afraid to talk about it. Teenagers are curious, emotional, and growing fast, mentally, physically, and hormonally. They're exposed to more information and misinformation than ever before through social media, movies, friends, and the internet. Many think they're ready. Some believe they're in love. Others just want to feel accepted. But here's the truth. Sex at a young age isn't just risky. It's often unsafe. Legally, emotionally, physically, and mentally. Let's talk about why. What does underage mean? First, let's define what underage sex actually is. In most countries, there's a legal age of sexual consent, typically between 16 and 18 years old. That means anyone under that age cannot legally agree to sex, no matter what they say or feel. Why? Because their brains are still developing. They may not fully understand what consent means, how sex can affect their emotions and body, how to protect themselves from STIs or pregnancy, how to cope with pressure, manipulation, or regret. In the eyes of the law, and in the eyes of responsible educators, underage sex is not just a private decision. It's a protection issue. A story too many teens know. Let me share a story. Names changed for privacy. Fatima, a 15-year-old girl, believed she was in love with Saad, 18. He told her she was mature for her age. They kissed in secret, texted at night, swapped photos. She felt seen and special. Then, one night, they went too far. There was no protection, no planning, just the moment. Afterward, Saad started avoiding her. Her period was late. Her emotions were in chaos. She had no one to talk to, not her parents, not her teachers. Eventually, her school counselor found out. Not only was Fatima emotionally devastated, but Saad, who said he loved her, now faced legal consequences for being intimate with a minor. Both of their lives were changed by one night of unprepared, unprotected, underage sex. The emotional side no one prepares you for. Here's what many teens don't hear. Sex is more than just a physical act. It connects to your emotions, identity, and self-worth. Underage sex often leads to confusion, regret, or pressure. Young people may not feel empowered to say no, especially when they're scared of losing love. Breakups after underage sex feel more intense. Why? Because it wasn't just a breakup. It was also a loss of trust, safety, and sometimes own sense of self. Teens often blame themselves, but no teenager should ever be expected to handle adult decisions without adult understanding. The physical risks of underage sex. Underage sex increases the risk of unplanned pregnancy, because protection is rarely used properly. Sexually transmitted infections, because many aren't tested or aware. Body shame and trauma, when things feel rushed or unsafe. Hiding health issues out of fear. Some teens don't even know how their own bodies work, how ovulation, cycles, or protection methods function, yet are expected to navigate sexual decisions that carry lifelong consequences. That's why educators always say, if you're not ready to talk openly about sex, you're not ready to have it. Consent and the law. Let's be clear. Even if a teen says yes, under the law, they may not be old enough to give valid consent. That means an older person having sex with someone under the legal age is committing a crime, even if both said yes. Sending sexual photos underage is considered child pornography in many regions. Teens could face legal charges for simply sharing or possessing nudes. Schools, courts, and authorities are required to take action if underage sexual activity is discovered. And beyond the law, there's the emotional cost, one that teens carry long after the moment is over. Why teens say yes before they're ready. Teens don't always say yes out of desire. They say yes because they're scared of being rejected. Everyone else seems to be doing it. They think it'll make someone stay. They believe sex equals love. They don't feel confident enough to say no. But true readiness comes from education, emotional maturity, and the ability to set and respect boundaries. That's why sex education must be about empowerment, not just biology. At any age means you fully understand your own body and boundaries. You feel no pressure or fear. You can talk openly about protection. You and your partner are both legally able to consent. You're emotionally prepared for any consequences. You know sex does not define your worth. If even one of these isn't true, you're not ready, and that's okay. You don't owe anyone your body. Not for love, not for approval, not to fit in. A message for teens. To every teenager reading this, you are growing. You are learning. You are discovering who you are. But sex is not a shortcut to love. It's not a tool to keep someone. It's not a way to feel whole. Wait until you are legally of age. You are emotionally stable. You are fully informed. You are able to handle both yes and no with confidence. Your future matters. Your heart matters. You matter. A message for parents and educators. To adults, silence is not protection. Talk to your teens before the internet does. Teach them the difference between affection and pressure. Make space for questions without judgment. Empower them with knowledge, not fear. The best way to prevent harm is through open, honest sex education that treats teens with dignity while guiding them safely through their developing years. Final words from a sex educator. Underage sex is not a taboo. It's a conversation that can save lives, dignity, and futures. Let's move past shame and silence. Let's teach teens how to say no, when to say yes, safely, legally, emotionally. How to protect themselves. Why waiting is strength, not weakness. Because at the end of the day, our job is not to scare teens away from sex. Our job is to help them make choices they won't regret. End quote.